Hey everyone, thank you for joining. If you haven't been with us before, I'm your host, Kendall Fisher, and today I'm teaming up with Allison Auclair, Group Vice President of Product Management here at NetSuite, to talk to you about getting your fulfillment operations prepared for the holidays. I know we're talking about the holidays in June, but there's a good reason for that. Allison will hit on some of the biggest challenges you typically face with an influx of holiday orders, how to prepare and overcome those challenges, optimize your fulfillment process, and deliver an exceptional customer experience, and simultaneously manage your staff all at the same time. There is a way to do this. We have the hot tips for you in today's broadcast. Now, of course, we have a lot to get into, but we will absolutely cover as much as we possibly can during our chat, but we'll also open up the conversation to a live Q&A with all of you. So be sure to use the comments wherever you're tuning in from to ask Allison any questions you may have, and we'll get to as many of those questions as we possibly can towards the end of our time with you here today. Now, if you don't have any questions, that's okay too. Just give us a shout out in the comments. We know you're joining from all over the place, so tell us where you're tuning in from, and we'll make sure to take some time to call out to you during our event. And we also want to hear how you're preparing for the holidays. Comment your tips, insight, and experience, and we'll also try to share some of that. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Allison Auclair. Hi, Allison. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Kendall. Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
All right, Allison, I started this off by asking everybody to tell us where they're tuning in from. So I'm going to do the same with you. Where are you joining us from today?
I am joining from Boston. Go Red Sox.
Love it. Love it. Although I'm a Dodgers fan here in Los Angeles. But love it. Also, I know we're talking about the holidays here, but yesterday, first day of summer. Any summer plans for you, Allison, or any favorite activities you're looking forward to partaking in this summer?
Oh, I'm going to spend lots of time at the beach. That's my happy place. And I'm also going to take my kids camping. So that should be fun.
Love it. I love it. Well, we have so much to get into today. So I want to dive right in. And to start, some folks might be confused as to why we're talking about the holidays on the second day of summer. So why are we? Why do companies need to be thinking about their warehouse operations right now?
Oh, it is critical to think about it right now, because now is when you can make a difference. Now is when you make your plan so that you set yourself up for success. You need that time to get your plans in place and get yourself prepared.
Got it. And what fulfillment challenges do businesses typically face during the holidays that they would need to prepare for and think about right now?
Well, there are two key things that are really different about the holidays. One is the spike in volumes. You typically have much more volume during that time than during the rest of the year. And the other is thinking about the different kinds of exceptions that you want to try to anticipate that will come up during that time, things like supply disruptions or labor disruptions, and make a plan to address them.
Okay. So, I mean, really, there's not a whole lot of room for error during the holidays, especially when, everybody's eager to create that really, really solid customer experience. So, not to mention product companies, when they talk about holiday sales, those sales really represent, an important time of year, often accounting for 30% of annual sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how can businesses prepare to handle this influx while simultaneously, again, delivering that great customer experience?
So the key is planning, as we just talked about. So, starts with trying to forecast the demand as best you can. That can be challenging, and hopefully you have this sort of unified picture of demand in place for yourself, or if not, you need to put it together, because everything goes from there. Based on that, you'll make your supply plans, make your labor plans, and you need that unified view of people and of your inventory. As best you can, try to think through and get your best case scenario in place. And then think about plans B, C, and D, because as we know, the best laid plans don't necessarily happen as we expect. So the key thing is to make sure that you're thinking through the alternatives, analyzing your fulfillment and your warehouse processes, now, like the layout, for example, and how you do things so that you can see how they'll perform during that more busier period. And if you haven't already, introduced cycle counting so that you make sure your inventory is accurate as it can be, because we know that's also key to making sure that you can meet customer expectations.
Okay, so I hear, so there's a lot that I'm hearing in this, but one thing that you pointed out was warehouse plays a key role in ensuring orders are delivered quickly and, of course, accurately to customers. So what can businesses do to optimize those fulfillment processes and ensure customer satisfaction?
So there are two critical success factors, two key things to any fulfillment operation. The first is having the right inventory in the right place at the right time and using that as efficiently as possible. As we know, there's going to be these spikes and these crazy things happening, right? But making sure that that plan's in place. The second is having the right warehouse processes and people in place to fulfill that demand as it comes as efficiently as possible.
Okay, got it. So let's talk about that first point then. How should businesses ensure they have the right inventory in the right place at the right time, like you said? And how does NetSuite help with that?
That is the magic, isn't it? So
Yeah.
the first step is to, as we mentioned a little earlier, anticipate the demand as best you can. Look at what's happened in the past. Think about whether this year is going to be different for specific reasons or not. Use that to predict and order what inventory that you need so you can best meet your demand. And then you want to use it as efficiently as possible. So NetSuite has two things that can help with that. NetSuite's demand planning helps with that forecasting demand. Lots of different algorithms that take into account things like seasonality and your previous volumes that you had, and will help you anticipate what your plan should be. And supply planning also works together with that to help you optimize repeat ordering of inventory for those things that you sell all the time so you can maintain the right levels.
Right.
So that's step one. The second step is to make the best use of that inventory when it gets to game time, right? So you're going to have what you have. When it comes to that crunch time, you need to make the best decisions that you can to make the most customers happy. So NetSuite's advanced order management, supply allocation capabilities give you that smarts to make the best decision you can about where to fulfill from, which orders to fulfill, how to allocate your inventory to have that best case scenario of making all your customers happy and fulfilling all of your orders.
Well, simultaneously, I'm guessing not having too much inventory on hand that you end up not selling, right? And then that's essentially wasted dollars.
Definitely. And so the alerts that NetSuite can give you that help with that are, for example, when you get below a certain amount of inventory, or you have your forecast and your inventory levels don't match, then NetSuite can actually give you alerts so that you can do something about it, like maybe run an extra promotion if you have too much inventory to try to move that inventory, or sell it in another channel to try to move it where you can't in one.
Right. Okay. Now let's talk about that second part, efficiency. What should companies do to make sure they do fulfill those orders as efficiently as possible? And how can NetSuite leverage NetSuite? How can companies leverage NetSuite's warehouse management system to really enable this? What benefits are there?
Yeah. So the keys to success there are making sure that your warehouse layout, the processes, and staffing are all optimized for those expected levels of demand, and that your warehouse staff have the right tools in place so that they can execute as efficiently as possible. So NetSuite offers two things that work together to help you do that. The first is NetSuite's WMS application, or warehouse management application, that is purpose-built applications for warehouse managers, and a mobile app for warehouse operators that lets them manage inventory and execute on fulfillment as efficiently and profitably as possible. And along the way, it also provides you KPIs and reports so you can see how you're doing and adjust if you need to, because we know things do change. One thing that you might consider with that is doing some separation of duties as you grow. So if you start to get more staff in your warehouse, you may want to specialize people towards picking, packing, shipping to gain additional efficiencies. And NetSuite allows you to do that as well in the WMS. So that's the first part of the solution. And then the second part is your people, right? Because we know we need people to be able to work in the warehouse and move those packages along. So workforce management from NetSuite helps warehouse managers efficiently forecast what labor they will need to make sure that we have the right amount of people for the demand that's anticipated, and helps you schedule and track the time for your people, adjust when things don't go according to plan so that you can have the right people in place to make sure you're meeting your customers' expectations.
And what is the benefit? I mean, you're talking about NetSuite sorry, that's my dog. You're talking about NetSuite workforce management, right? And that integrates seamlessly with NetSuite WMS, which integrates seamlessly with the rest of the ERP, right? So can you talk a bit about efficiency from that standpoint and all of this being part of one suite?
Absolutely. It's key because if you think about your labor and your workforce, how are you going to figure out if you have the right people? To figure that out, you need to know what your demand's going to be. And so NetSuite, you don't need to sort of integrate those two things. It's automatic that we see what the demand is, what your anticipated demand is, and what you've done in the past. Even when actual demand comes in, that's just there and accessible. So that's going to help you plan and adapt to the situation on the ground much better than if there were separate systems. It's same thing when you get to execution time. So, WMS, you've got people out on the floor, they're doing their work. You don't want them to stop and go somewhere else to log their time or to talk about a shift change with their supervisor. That's all in one place, right? And they can just do what they need to do. The time gets recorded automatically, and that's much more efficient for them. They can get back to getting those packages out the door.
Right. Now, obviously, we are talking about specifically getting those orders off the floor and out the door, but what happens once orders have been picked? How do you ensure they do get out the door? What opportunities exist to increase that efficiency with NetSuite?
Yeah, so there's multiple components, right, to fulfillment. The first is making sure that your orders actually get picked efficiently. So we have the visibility to the demand that's coming in. It pops up automatically for the warehouse manager, and then they want to most efficiently move their people through to pick those orders. So NetSuite's warehouse management has a wave management capability that will help the warehouse manager automatically determine which orders to pick and what pick paths to take through the warehouse so that you can, as efficiently and quickly as possible, get those items ready to be packed. So that is the first step.
And then getting it out the door.
And then getting out the door, you need to pack and ship, right? And so that's the next critical step that we need to focus on. So packing and shipping speed and quality are super important. And within the NetSuite's WMS, the Ship Central capabilities help the warehouse operators most efficiently pack and ship the packages out to your customers. So for example, the warehouse operators can optimize the packing. The system would, for example, recommend consolidating packages if they're going to the same customer so that you can save on shipping. It automatically prints the right documents, captures the weight from the scale, automatically tenders the shipment, and records the tracking number. So it makes that process of packing and getting it ready to be picked up by the carrier super efficient, and we'll get those packages out quickly and save cost with the optimized shipping calculations.
Of course. And then on top of all of that, increase customer satisfaction because you're getting it out the door faster, more efficiently. Love that. We are going to switch gears here in just a second, but first, we've got some shout outs coming in. Megan says, never too early to start preparing. I think Allison knows that well. Thank you, Megan. Ashish says, hi, Allison. I'm joining from New Delhi, India. Thank you. Wow. We love our global. We have a couple of global audiences, people from our global audience here. We have Ruiz Cesar Silva joining from Portugal. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to give this a go. We've got Venkateshwari joining from the US. Hi, thank you for joining us. We've got Catherine from Atlanta, Georgia. We've got George from Kenya. Again, loving our global audience attending right now. Malati from North Carolina. And Jeff, I see your question coming in about NetSuite Advanced Order Management. We will get to your question at the end of today's event here, but I have it pinned, so I know to come back to you, Jeff. And for everybody else that's tuning in right now, make sure you keep commenting. Make sure you keep asking your questions. Keep shouting out. Tell us where you're tuning in from. And again, share what processes you have in place for preparing for the holidays right now. So Allison, we have talked about how to optimize the fulfillment process. What other areas of the warehouse do businesses really need to evaluate when preparing for the holidays?
Yep. So there are a couple of areas. One of them we mentioned a little bit earlier, inventory accuracy. So you want to be sure that your inventory is accurate as possible as you're making promises to your customers. And one of the things that NetSuite WMS will help you do is to improve your accuracy through things like the bin management capabilities and cycle counting. So for example, you may have a regular cycle count that you're generating, but NetSuite also helps you to detect and recover from inventory inaccuracies as gracefully as possible. So for example, if something were short, a smart count would be automatically generated so that you do update it to be accurate. The advanced order management capabilities will stop directing orders temporarily to that location for that item so that you don't end up sending more warehouse operators to the floor where something isn't there. So that baseline of accuracy is super important, and being able to recover when you have an issue. And then receiving, of course, is also an important supporting actor for fulfillment because you need items there to be able to fulfill.
Right. Let's dive into that a bit. How does receiving play into a successful holiday execution, and what should businesses really look at when evaluating their inbound processes?
So what's most important there is receiving as quickly and accurately as possible, because you want that inventory in stock and available for the operators to pick, pack, and ship for your customers. So
one of the things here, Allison,
you got to have stuff to ship stuff, right? So WMS, NetSuite WMS will let warehouse operators just scan those inbound shipments into inventory. Direct them the most important, the most optimized place to put them away so they're as quickly as possible. It's also an optional step to trigger quality inspections with the quality management capability so that you can see if the products that are coming in are meeting your demands, so you don't end up shipping things to customers that you don't think are to that right level of quality. And then in addition, when you have those spikes, you have the option, for example, to allow WMS to pick from your receiving bin. So you don't even have to go through the process of putting it away. You could just say, oh, no, I got it. I need to send it out. I'm sending it out right now. And so that helps you be more efficient, especially when it's busy.
Right. Now, what about storage? How does the way, to store product really impact holiday success too? Again, all these pieces that add up to a full kind of holiday strategy that really leads to success.
Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit earlier, but assessing your warehouse layout and storage system in advance is key, making sure that based on the patterns that you've been seeing, maybe the past holiday, do you have things in the right places to be most efficient to move through the warehouse? Also, the NetSuite WMS warehouse and zone definition and bin management capabilities allow you to optimize your warehouse space. So that's a great tool to help you if you're not quite sure the best layout. And then the warehouse operators are automatically directed to those best locations to pick things so that they can efficiently get through the warehouse. So thinking about that layout and optimizing it in advance will set you up for success.
Got it. All right. We've talked about how to optimize the warehouse with the systems and processes to handle really that influx of holiday sales, that influx of inventory. But what about the people part of this, I guess? What challenge, you kind of mentioned this earlier, right, with NetSuite Workforce Management. But I want to kind of start at square one. What challenges do businesses typically run into when it comes to managing and planning around staff during the holidays?
Even though we're in a post-COVID world now, those labor shortages that we saw during COVID, they're still around, and they're still a huge challenge for all industries, including warehouses. And so it's really important for warehouse managers to both put their best labor plan possible in place, but also have tools that help them to adapt when things don't go quite as planned.
Right. So how do you kind of go about overcoming that? How can businesses determine really the best way to plan around that shortage and staff during these peak times?
So it starts with your plan. So NetSuite's Workforce Management takes that visibility we talked about to what we think the demand's going to be, and then feeds that into a labor plan, a labor forecast. So it gives you that visibility, first of all, of, here's what we think that you will need. Here's the model that you should plan on based on what you've told us about your anticipated demand or what we've learned through watching you use the system. And that will tell you, where you might be under or overstaffed, so you can try to, in advance, understand what to do about that. And that lets you generate a schedule and publish a schedule to your employees. And then reality sets in, right? And so now you're in the middle of the holidays and your plan is in place, and it may go as planned or things may change. Like, you may not have all the people you thought, or you might have more demand than you thought. And so one of the key things that workforce management does is help you figure out how to adjust your schedule to deal with those unexpected things that came up. Also helps you to make sure that you're recording your time and you're publishing schedules to the warehouse operator so that you can automatically capture those things and not have people have to worry about going separately to clock in and clock out. So it's really about making it as intelligent as possible, both for the warehouse manager to deal with those problems and as efficient as possible for the warehouse operator to do what they need to do and move on to those value-added activities.
Wow. Well, this has been, again, just super insightful. Allison, any other major notes or insight to share for businesses before I open it up to the audience for some questions? Anything else you'd say as they begin to prep for the holidays?
The key thing is take a breath. So my daughter recently spoke at her 8th grade graduation. She had advice she had gotten from her teacher that she gave back to her classmates. She said in her speech, take a breath, kiddo. Oh. And you got this. And, I think that's very much the sentiment here. It's like, take a breath, make a plan. You got it. And NetSuite has the tools to help you make that plan and to deal with the unexpected things that might come out. So make the plan now. You'll be thankful later.
Yeah. And I think we can all take that advice from your daughter for everything that we're facing right now, right? Let's take a breath. We can overcome it. Also, like you said, NetSuite helps in doing that in so many ways than just preparing for the holidays. But in this scenario, yes, take a breath. Everything will be A-okay. So like I said, Allison, we do have questions coming in from the audience. So I want to make sure that I take some time to answer those now. If you're tuning in, you still have time to ask Allison some questions. We have a little bit of wiggle room here where we're going to try to get to as many of your questions as we possibly can. So first and foremost, I want to start with Jeff because Jeff had asked a question really early on in the broadcast, and I want to make sure I answer it. How can customers with multiple warehouse locations leverage NetSuite Advanced Order Management?
So NetSuite Advanced Order Management is actually especially made for customers with multiple warehouse locations because its main job is to figure out the best location to fulfill from. So it works with the supply allocation module, but what it does is take a look at not just the supply in one location, but your supply across multiple locations, your rules in terms of, do you want to ship from the closest location, the most profitable or least cost location, or balance a little bit of both. It can apply all of those rules and automatically make the best decision about where to fulfill a particular order from. So I think it's really key in making that optimization of your shipping costs and making the best use of your inventory on the fly.
Got it. All right, another one here coming in from Chris. What's the latest I should have my warehouse operations in order ahead of the holidays?
No, just kidding. Yeah, right? The sooner the better. I think somebody commented on that earlier. The sooner the better. But generally, I think the cutoff is August, September. If you don't have your plans in place by that point, you're probably going to be nervous. So that's why we're talking in June. Right now is the time to be thinking about it, planning for it, and setting yourself up for success.
Absolutely. All right, we have another question in here coming from Karen. We did answer this earlier in the broadcast, but there's no harm in repeating it. How does NetSuite WMS connect or tie into the rest of the suite, and how does that benefit my business?
You're right. We did talk about a few of the different ways earlier. So one of the key ways is that you automatically see the demand that's coming in, and you have visibility to the demand that you had before. So a key part of the warehouse manager's job is to make a plan and then to respond to the actual demand to figure out the best way to fulfill. So that visibility to both, previous and actual demand is super important. The other thing is it ties directly into the inventory in NetSuite, right? You want your accurate single source of truth. And so having that within your WMS, but also available, for example, within your sales order entry process is going to mean you set great expectations, accurate expectations to customers. And we know how important that is to making people happy.
Yeah.
And then the tie into workforce management that we talked about, best laid plans. If your labor is not in place, or if you have a labor problem that you can't see or can't deal with, that all those plans are going to go up in smoke. And so the fact that WMS and workforce management work together to both make your labor plan as well as respond to challenges or disruptions that might happen are very important as well.
Absolutely. Well, this has been great, Allison. Again, thank you. Thank you so much. That's all the questions that we have coming in for the day, and super helpful. We just really appreciate you taking the time and really providing some insightful guidance and tips, Allison. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Happy planning, everyone.
Yeah. And as always, a big thanks to all of you for tuning in. And if you want to find out more about NetSuite WMS, you can go ahead and click the link in the description of this live, wherever you're tuning in from, be it, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, whatever it may be. In the description, you have a link there where you can learn more about NetSuite WMS and how to get your warehouse and fulfillment operations in order and streamlined and optimized for those holidays that, in a blink of an eye, they're going to be here. So thank you so much for joining us. Click that link, learn more, and we will chat with you soon. Thanks for joining us. Bye.